Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back here with a live News AF here today for Tuesday. So excited to see all of our friends here in the chat. The Pete, Taranoia, Docs,
the crew,
Tom, everybody. Okay, welcome back for another live News AF today. Okay, all right, here we go. You ready, Danny?
I am.
Tyson is audio only today, so sorry about the technical difficulties. Here's Laureen and Tara. All right, here we go. Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back with you to talk about the week's most interesting news stories for the week of June 3rd, 2025 here on News AF.
If the story is buzzing like it's on crystal meth, it's about to be News AF. If the same old news makes you bored to death, it's time for some News AF. Actual, factual news.
Yes, that's right. News AF is back. Got a little bit of a special episode here for you today. We'll tell you why. First, let's bring in Curveball, Danny Bryson. Danny
Boom.
First.
Feels wrong. Feels like a violation of the AF rules, but gosh, out front.
Yes.
Good to be here. Things are warming up here where I live. And so this room, which you don't know, you can't tell, it becomes very, very warm.
Yes.
My hands
Why?
are already
How warm is it outside?
Well, it's not. It's getting into the 90s now.
Wow.
Which isn't really that hot. Tyson lives in,
Yes.
the oven. But as it warms up, this room has no air conditioning, and it's pretty close to the roof. So as the summer progresses, just more parts of my body will sweat more and more. And by the end of the summer, you'll begin to see beads of sweat on my forehead.
Okay. Well,
so this is the
hang in there,
beginning of the
Danny.
sweat season. Yeah,
Okay. All right. Now, Tyson, we're not able to see him today. He's audio only, but let's bring him in. Father Nature, of course, pickleball's top influencer. Tyson, now it must be, if it's hot by Danny, it must be hot by you.
Dude, it is so stinking hot here, but it's a dry heat. So 120 feels like 65 with humidity.
Okay. All right. That's pretty good.
Humidity makes a big difference.
Yeah. Tyson, we haven't seen much of you recently. What's going on?
A lot of my Mormon friends were bragging about how awesome it is to do a social media fast. So I was like, I could do that too.
Oh, okay. So Tyson has been off social media also for the last couple of days. Yeah. Okay. That Tyson, what else is going on?
Who's choppy? Is that me?
Yeah,
No,
probably.
you're
I'm
fine.
going to jump off and jump on real quick. So just talk to Danny for a second.
No, all right. So Tyson is on assignment that we don't have soundboard Tyson. The real Tyson, Danny, is on assignment. He was named this week as part of the cast of Peacock's House of Villains Season 3.
Ooh, exposed. Exposed as a villain. Are they all villains in the house?
He's living in a house filled with all villains.
Who
Now,
would
Danny,
want that?
You wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know if Tyson likes that, but he's off in the House of Villains. Danny, did you know, as somebody who is like in Tyson's inner circle, do you think of him as a villain?
I know he's told the story where we were hanging out together and I invited a girl to come hang out with us. And after we had lunch, all three of us together, she thought he was a villain. So some might confuse Tyson with villains, but he's not a villain.
He was on the Villains Tribe in Heroes versus Villains.
Yeah,
so
he keeps getting placed in the villain. I think that's a role that he relishes, but he himself in real life is not a villain.
Yeah, he's only a hero to us. But so Danny and I are going to be taking it the whole way. And look, I always relish the opportunity to podcast more with Danny.
Dude, one-on-one. It is kind of interesting because Tyson is such a heavy presence in a good way, not a villainous way. And so there is like this empty space that I have to get used to when you and I are talking, because I expect Tyson to interject at any moment.
Okay. Well, I'll work on trying to help fill the void, but it will be felt, I'm sure, by the listeners. But Danny, let's get into some of our stories because we have a lot of fun ones to talk about. Now, Danny, are you a fan of the works of Sydney Sweeney?
I go back and forth on the Sweenster. I'm not 100% sure if I'm a fan. Although I have nothing against her, I'm not in any way like, I don't know, drawn to her work. So
Hmm.
neutral is the best way to explain this.
Okay. All right. And as far as I go, I'm not sure necessarily like if her acting is celebrated. I think that like Sydney Sweeney is like very famous, but I don't know necessarily like what if the world knows what to do with her in
Yes.
terms of vehicles for her.
Yeah, maybe that's how I feel. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm as lost as everybody else.
Like she's very famous, but I feel like she's more famous like an influencer. I know she's had some
What's she in?
popular films. Well, I think that she was Euphoria,
Started Euphoria,
The
yeah.
White Lotus season 1.
Oh,
That I think that I forget what the movie that she did that was like the romantic comedy where it was like
yes, with Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's right. She's
Anybody
a
But
chameleon.
You. Yeah,
In that when I saw her in White Lotus, I didn't know it was her. She looked so different.
she was seemed younger then. Okay, but
Yeah, it was
here she
weird.
is, and Sydney Sweeney has some new. I don't know if you want to call it merch or what, but she has partnered up with Dr. Squatch Soap to bring you a brand new bar of soap that is made with Sydney Sweeney's bathwater.
I know that I read this earlier, and some people found this controversial, which I don't get.
Yes.
But then she explained that she thought it was a funny collaboration because she actually has lots of people, and this part is creepy. She has lots of people who request her bathwater.
No doubt. No doubt. So, yeah, this is something that she's really like maybe trying to market directly to the creeps.
To the creeps. It definitely goes to the creep market. Has anyone ever asked you for any of your bodily fluids or parts?
No. No.
Okay. That's when you know
never.
you've made it, though. I think people are asking for your fingernails. You've made it.
I mean, I don't really want to give that to them.
No, you don't.
But you know, if they had, I don't. In some ways, you would be honored, right?
I guess you might want to feel that way, and obviously she's a very good sport, because I think there's a lot of women who would rightly be grossed out by that request, but the fact that she can joke with it,
But-
you know, in my mind, gives her more respect.
Danny, I do feel like that in some ways, though, that like this is her base.
No, oh, I see what you're saying. She understands her people.
Yeah, like
she's
I
giving
think
them
that
what
this
they
is sort
want.
of like the base of her popularity are people that would want a Sydney Sweeney bar of soap.
You know, I once shared an apartment that only had a bath for 4 men, right? And
Wow.
the goal was there was an individual in that apartment who you never wanted to take a bath after because he left a ring of hair around the rim of the tub. And I don't think that's what Sydney Sweeney's water looks like, but that's the only thing I can picture in my mind when I think of someone wanting someone else's bath water is that beautiful
Yeah.
dark ring of hair. And by the way, the rule of the apartment was that you were supposed to rinse off with a provided cup, you know, the hair.
Yeah.
But the idea of bath water in my mind is so disgusting, no matter who it comes from, just because that is dead skin cells. When I have to reach into the bathtub after my kids would take baths when they were little, and I'd have to reach my arm into that lukewarm water, to me, that is one of the most revolting sensations you can have as a human. Just like into that
even
warm.
your own children.
Yes, to pull out that plug in that weird, gross water. It was clear before your kid got in there. And now you're like, where did all of this discoloration come from? What are those things?
Yeah.
And then to pull up that drain, to me, was tough.
Danny, I'm interested to hear more about the 4-guy bathhouse.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the circumstances of that?
You called it a bathhouse. So the people that lived in this bathhouse, it was in Scotland, where they don't really do the shower thing. You could install, if you wanted, this like secondhand shower that attached to the outlet of the tub, but it worked like 50% of the time. So we lived in an apartment, all of us together, and it's just gross. Baths are gross. If I lived in a time of only baths, even I would probably go without them. And that's saying something because I hate feeling gross. But I feel like you get out of a bath, you stand up, right? And that top film of the bath is just sitting there like, you know, when they coat things with those coatings, they dip it in the middle and they pull it up and it has like the pattern on it now.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what happens to me when I stand up out of the tub. All of that scum reapplies itself to my outer layer, maybe creating a protective microbiome layer, but
Yeah.
it's just so disgusting. So
Yeah. I feel like it seems very inefficient if you're very dirty to get into a bath. Like I can see the appeal of a bath. It seems relaxing,
got to
but
shower before, right? That's
Mhm.
the. So how many baths is she taking? I mean, is this this
I
is
don't
like
know.
a limited launch of one
It's a
bath?
limited launch of, I don't know how many baths she had to take. I believe that it is limited to only 5,000 bars of Sydney Sweeney soap that are only going to be produced. Only $8. Seems like a steal.
That does seem like a steal. If you're one of those creeps waiting, I bet the pre-orders are through the roof,
Mm-hmm.
right? To get your hands on some Sydney
Yeah.
Sweeney.
Do you
They're not
think that
even
this
gonna
is
use
a
it.
trap, Danny? That basically like the FBI is running some kind of sting operation? Like, who are the 5,000 people that are signing up to like get the bar of soap made with Sydney Sweeney's
The
bath
real
water?
concern
Like they
is
get on a list.
you really want to watch out for the guy who gets like 100 to 200 bars. A person who maybe buys one bar, you know, the number of bars you buy is the representation of how obsessed you are. So I think that you just want to put on a list the people who are high bar counts.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is actually a really good move by Sydney Sweeney, now that you point that out.
Yeah, because it's not like that they're like, oh, I just like thought this would be a good product. I just wanted to pick up some soap. Like this is for like a very specific customer.
Yeah, very specific. Most stars are shying away from encouraging the creeps.
Yeah.
This is bringing them out into the light, perhaps to get them on a list.
This does
So-
seem like a real coup for Dr. Squatch to land Sydney Sweeney.
Oh, absolutely. But she's always kind of been, and again, recognizing her brand and her people, she's always kind of, I mean, she did something with Bronco. She
Mhm.
tends to lean to the manly stuff, which
Yeah.
is smart for her. Maybe, she understands exactly who it is that's buying her stuff.
Sydney Sweeney posted to Instagram, you kept asking about my bath water after the Dr. Squatch ad, so we kept it.
Oh, wow.
I guess did she do an ad in the bath for Dr. Squatch? And then people were like, I like that bath water.
That is
so
creepier.
Mhm.
So the Squatch people, they're like, dude,
Dr. Squatch, Danny.
don't. Yeah, he is a doctor. He's like, do not drain that bath. That is like
Mhm.
liquid gold we've got
It's
there.
genius.
Did she consent to that? How long did they hold on to the water though? She's like, what would have been a good idea, just reading the comments, is we should have turned that bath water, and this is months later, into some soap bars. Like, oh, we still got it.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the warehouse where they keep the Ark, the Ark of the Covenant
Yeah.
type of thing.
Seems very counterintuitive to make a soap out of somebody else's dirty water.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But not in this, there is a lot of grit, that can
It's medium
exfoliate.
grit. It's medium
Yes.
grit.
Yeah, exfoliate your skin
Yeah.
with someone else's grit. That could be the new thing.
I suspect most of the buyers probably wanted no grit.
No, I think you do want some grit.
You do.
Those are the things that have been holding on to her body. They've been
Mhm.
closer to her than you ever will be. So you want that grit all over your body. You don't rinse off after you lather. This is the one soap that you just leave it on.
Yeah. Sydney Sweeney issued a statement and said the product is weird in the best way. I am quite sure that this was not weird in the best way. This was kind of weird in the worst way.
Yeah. Again, I think that you're going to be put on a list if you order more than one bar. So
Mhm.
that's a smart way to bring out the creeps.
Yep. Okay. Mixed reactions for Sydney Sweeney soap. We'll see if other celebrities will follow suit and put out lines of their own
Well,
bathwater soaps.
fart in a jar.
Fart in a jar, sure.
Fart in a jar. She made probably hundreds of dollars off her fart in a jar. Imagine
Oh,
what
thousands, I think. that
thousands
woman
of dollars.
from
Yeah.
90 Day Fiance.
I mean, imagine, what a real celebrity could make. Brad Pitt's marketing fart in a jar.
Yeah, do you think Sydney Sweeney has somebody on the team saying like, okay, that follow me here, but like we have this jar, okay? We're talking generational wealth.
Yeah, you think she's building up a fart in a jar warehouse to sell to, like an inheritance?
I don't
for
know.
her
I think that
children?
like her career is booming to the point where I'm not even sure why she did this with Dr. Squatch. I can't imagine that Dr. Squatch has like this huge, maybe that Dr. Squatch like went all in on Sydney Sweeney of like,
Yeah.
this was like their Super Bowl ad of like, hey, let's just leverage the whole company, give it all to Sydney Sweeney and go here. And so far the gamble is paying off. But I
Yeah.
gotta feel like that there are plenty of movie opportunities for Sydney Sweeney that she doesn't need to see the jar people yet.
Yeah, I don't think she's reached jar status.
Mhm.
She's climbing the ladder. She's ascending, not descending.
She's doing great. So,
Yeah.
but maybe on the back burner. That's maybe like
Good.
plan D.
Yeah, everyone's got fart in a jar on the back burner. Things
Mhm.
get rough. You just buy a couple jars and get to work.
Yep.
Some Taco Bell, a couple jars. You're
Yep.
on your way.
Okay, Danny, you have been one of the people who has really been pushing back on the narrative of generative. I don't know if I said that right. AI is taking over. Watch out. It's going to be everywhere. I thought this was an article that might be interesting to you. Builder.ai, which is a London based startup valued at $1.5 billion. They said it could be automatically or autonomously creating apps, but there was some deception revealed this last month when it was exposed that the platform relied on over 700 Indian engineers manually coding apps, not AI.
Remember when we I'm mixing up my words. Remember when we talked about the Turkish chessboard where they pretended like it was automated, but there was a guy inside, a really small person moving the pieces. I think that's what it was. It was something along those lines where there was a person inside the box moving the levers, but people thought it was automated. This is something that has been the case for a very long time. We saw it with some of these car driving companies had people. I want to say
some of these robot videos.
Yeah, robot videos have human operators. And so these people are just the most recent in a long line of individuals and companies that have been caught out with humans doing what were supposedly, AI or robot jobs.
Look at this invention we've made. And then it turns out that it was like all fake. Like, give us a valuation, baby.
Yeah, that's the whole point. What's his name? The guy who did the semi trucks, and he was just showing videos of the semi trucks coasting down a hill. That was a big scandal. The robots should be upset because here we are, humans are taking the jobs of robots, right? I mean, for now, it seems to be going the other way. We still need the humans in there in those windowless rooms in the Philippines.
This is stolen valor from the humans for what the AI is doing.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually vice versa. The AI is stealing valor from the humans that are doing the hard work.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I like to think that it can eventually get to the point where AI is doing a lot of this mind-numbing work. But some of these people who do the mind-numbing work might not want that to happen because the mind-numbing work puts food on the table. So I don't know. The whole AI thing, there's so many stories about it, so many lies and half-truths.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get a grasp of what's going on. So if you're out there and you're confused reading all this AI news, just know that most people are.
Is this a smart move though? If you are like in a service industry where you're really struggling to find your footing, like rebrand and say that AI is doing everything, even though it's still you doing all the work.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is AI. Like double your prices, and then say like, this is done by AI.
Well, now people are on the lookout for AI. Supposedly, I just talked to I don't know what you would call him, the guy I work with now at Mediocre Amateur. He says that he had responded to a comment, and obviously he responded, not me. So his response to a comment, the person thought maybe I was the one responding, seemed so out of place. And first of all, I never ever comment.
Yeah, because somebody's like, well, Danny wouldn't comment back.
He would never comment. And so he started shouting and going to other people's comments, responding that AI was now in the site, responding to people's comments. It had like an AI cascade, thinking like, oh my gosh, Danny's using AI, or AI has now infiltrated his comment sections because we're all on the lookout for the AI scam.
Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah, there are the people that are like the big like AI like shouters of people who are really trying to call out the AI when they see it. Fake.
I do it at
AI.
home. I show my kids. I go, "What do you think? Do you think this is real?" And they're like, no. Just the other day, I noticed that an article site was using AI thumbnails that look so good. But there's just no way that moment was captured. So the story was about a woman on an airplane who, after the kid insulted her, she pushed his head into the window. Yes. And there was this thumbnail of a woman pushing a kid's head into the window. And I'm like, obviously, this is a great thumbnail. and this would be an awesome picture, but it's just not possible. So we're all on the lookout. I knew that was an AI generated thumbnail, but I had to think about it.
Well, shout out to our intrepid listener, Noah Collin, in the Facebook group, who actually shouted out our last AI thumbnail for the episode. That I wasn't able to show it during the episode, but it really did turn out fantastic. Noah said of our last episode, Golden Toilet Theft is News AF. Noah said Rob wasn't able to show it during the live stream, apparently because ChatGPT has gotten slow AF. The Indian coders that were working on this picture were taking their sweet ass time. But I had to post the thumbnail they ended up generating because it's one of the best. For any of those that don't remember, it was something along the lines of a dog biting the Liver King as he tries to steal the golden toilet, while Diddy opens Christmas presents in the background as the Canadian tribunal judges quietly.
Yeah, here's the thing. This is obviously, I mean, this would be just impossible to get all these three people together. So all those Indian AI people who are like on Photoshop, when you put in this request, they're all like cropping out pictures, they're moving objects around. Yeah. So it takes a while.
Yeah. Remind me when we make the image for today we can't say that Sydney Sweeney is doing something, but we'll say like someone who looks like Sydney Sweeney.
Is that an acceptable prompt?
Yeah, because that's what it was saying. Like, the Liver King and Diddy are celebrities. We can't defame them. I was like, oh, okay.
Someone who looks. All right, good. Someone who looks.
Yeah. Okay. Danny, let's talk about what else is going on. And how about, a story, a harrowing tale about some bees that were endangered when a truck carrying them ended up spilling. That happened in Washington State, close to the Canadian border. Imagine a commercial truck carrying 70,000 pounds of honeybee hives crashes.
An act of war?
No, the driver failed to navigate a tight turn, and the trailer rolled into a ditch, freeing the bees.
Yeah, those bees want it to be free. Or do they? I think they like their hives, but when I very first saw this story, the headline was so stupid I didn't click on it. You won't believe what happened when this semi overturned. They had something stupid. Ignore. And then the next time I saw it, 1 million bees spill when truck overturns in Washington State. That one got me to
like
click.
That better.
That is better. I liked it better. 1 million honeybees. Now they got to go in and smoke them out. I don't know what kind of smoke they use, but they always go in there with the smoke to like make them slow. Yeah. And then what? They give them new temporary apartments.
I think they had something like the vacuum. I see with the bees.
Bee vacuum? Is it safe to vacuum bees?
Yeah, I think they take the bees into a vacuum. But Danny, the honeybees are so in danger. We put them all on a truck, and then we were shipping them somewhere, and then the truck crashed.
Was it a secret bee shipment to Canada? Do they need honeybees up there to pollinate their flowers?
Oh, maybe. Were we somebody trying to smuggle the bees into Canadian territory?
Maybe it was a diplomatic move to smooth over relations with Canada. Hey, look, we know things have been tense. We'll give you 1 million bees. You just calm down.
Okay. So 14 million honeybees. It was initially reported as 250 million, but they corrected
14 million
bees. Yes.
14 million bees. What does that look like? Oh, that would just scare my wife to no end. One bee is enough to cause freaking.
Yeah, imagine 14 million bees, and they're probably like really frazzled after the they probably didn't like being on the tractor trailer. Now it like went into a ditch.
Yeah. Can't even imagine what it would be like to be a bee. Then to get sucked up into a vacuum. I mean, how bizarre would that experience be?
Yeah. So this was the plan. So what they were doing was that they tried to identify the queen. If you can find the queen, then I think all the other bees will then like come back into the fold.
One queen for 14 million?
No, I think there's probably multiple queens.
Okay. Oh, that's got to be. What do you look at? Like their belly sack?
I think it's just the big ass bee. They're just big.
That doesn't sound very scientific.
Like it's like the big mother of the bees.
Okay,
queen
so
bee.
You vacuum up the queen bee after you've smoked her out, and then what? You put
I think
her
the smoke,
in a new
makes them like they're kind of drunk with the smoke.
Oh, they love the smoke.
From what I understand, Like it's basically like a hookah, and they're
Ooh.
just like getting them like a little bit like drowsy and like they're not like as angry then.
Is that just
And
regular smoke with some like nice pine?
I
Or
don't
are
know
they
what they
doing...
do. Like I don't know if it's like medical marijuana or what they are doing to them,
Well,
and then they get the vacuum.
yeah. I don't know how you do that. Maybe they knew where the
Yeah.
queen bees were. Maybe the queen bees can't fly. They're just so chunky. They just like sit around and like
Maybe.
squirt out babies all day long.
So Catherine, who knows a lot about these things, knows a lot about all of plant life, says honeybees are trucked all over to pollinate the plants all over the U.S. Danny, now whenever I'm driving in my car, I see
should
like
be
a
worried.
tractor trailer. Like I'm like, oh, is that like 14 million bees on there?
Yeah, but you don't need to worry. I always go outside. We have lots of bees in our backyard. There's something they like about our trees. And my little girl won't go out there. And I'll just go out there and stand next to the bees because the bees don't care.
Mhm.
Right? Even the other day, I had wasps flying around me. And it's like the wasps don't care. I'm not anything that they're interested in unless I cause a problem. So you don't need to worry about the portable beehives that apparently are just on the interstate highways all over the place. Right? You don't need stress.
Yeah.
That's not an added stress you need.
Danny, they called in 24 beekeepers. I mean, imagine
Oh,
like,
yeah.
the alarm goes off and it's like, hey, we got a situation.
Do you like a firehouse?
Get the smoke, get the vacuum.
They slide down the pole, put on their little
Mhm.
white outfit, get their vacuum and their smoker,
Yeah.
jump into their windowless van.
Not even the first time this happened in Washington State in 2015. Another 14 million bees escaped when a truck on the Interstate 5 had a similar incident.
They have a lot of flowers in Washington State, a lot of beautiful flowers. So maybe that's just like the bee state. Although they also had the murder hornets, which I believe were eradicated.
Yeah, that was another big one. I think that was what in 2020 also, where we were talking a lot about the murder hornets. That never really amounted to anything. Either that or they're keeping it very quiet.
Right down on the down low.
I got to go on my Twitter timeline to see if there's some and what's the latest with
they were using
the
like
murder hornets.
Yeah, they were using like infrared and predator tactics to go out and like zap them. So it sounds like they got them all.
Yeah. I am tapped into so many conspiracies now on my Twitter timeline.
And with AI,
it's so much. I'm like, boy, I wasn't even worried about this. Like, this is a whole thing. It's too much. Okay.
But if there's so many, you kind of just begin to not care, right? Because you're like, it's all so overwhelming. There's so little I can do. Bring it on.
I'm like, is anything real? I don't even know. Okay. But here's a story that's real. Okay. In China, Danny, a place where you and Tyson have spent some time, companies are offering unemployed people the opportunity to rent desk space and pretend to work there.
Yeah, this makes sense. My brother who lived in China, he lived in Japan for many, many years, said that the dishonor of being unemployed in Japan was so strong that some men, once they lost their job, would just go somewhere to make it seem like were still going to work all day long.
Yeah.
So it's like, this to me, culturally, seems very, very much in line with what some of those cultures believe. From our standpoint, this is insane. The opportunity just to lounge around at home, it could be appealing, as long as your wife is
You
cool
say that
with
I
it.
work from home.
Yeah, that's a big thing now. I just work from home, and then you can do whatever you want on your computer.
But Danny, what's the difference between this and like going to like WeWork or some sort of like
no
community,
difference.
like shared office space?
I think we've done a study in the past that showed people do less than like 15 minutes of work in an 8-hour day. It was honestly that astounding, the amount of time that people don't work. So really just sitting in an empty, while very depressing, probably equals to what most people do at work anyway.
Okay. So that for 30 to 50 won, I believe. Am I pronouncing that right? Is it won or yuan?
Won works. I think that's cheap. That seems really like a good bargain.
It's only $4 to $7. So pretty cheap. So that at these pretend to work companies, you get Wi-Fi, coffee, you get lunch, it says, and a simulated work environment with some places assigning fictitious tasks or organizing supervisory rounds to enhance the illusion. Look, I'll come in and pretend to work, but don't give me fake jobs to do also.
I like this Because what if you did have a job you wanted to do and you couldn't do it from home for obvious reasons? Working from home is, if you have kids and a wife, is very difficult. So
Tell me
many
about it.
distractions. Yeah, so many distractions. It's very difficult to do. So having a place you can go for $4 to $7 and even have someone come in and check on you, I bet you can like crank up the managerial roles. Like, hey, when you come in, I really need you to go after my work. It would kind of be nice. You'd be motivated. You know, your guy's coming around or your gal's coming around to like check your work.
Yeah.
This could be the thing that helps people be in job limbo, but still be prepared to re-enter the workforce when the time comes.
Now, your supervisor at your fake job, is that his fake job or he really works there? Can you get promoted at the fake job company?
I do. That would be. And then the next thing you know, you're assembling iPhones. I mean, is that like the path that they do? They are locating everyone who isn't working, right? So now they've got you locked in with their millions of cameras that are watching you. And then they're slowly promoting you into a real job. This could be genius if you're looking for cheap labor.
Is the person who's doing the best at the fake tasks just get promoted to be like, I'd rather be the fake manager at the fake company.
Yeah, that could be fun. Actually, now that I'm just thinking about it, I'm like, oh, that actually would be entertaining. This whole fake thing.
And
no pressure.
What happens if you are doing a bad job on your fake tasks? Can your fake manager fire you from your fake job?
You can be let go. I mean, they still need to accept your $4 to $7 to pay.
But they could tell you you're not welcome here anymore. And then you already had the shame of having to leave your house to go to the fake job. Like, you kind of need this fake job.
If you're in your windowless workspace, right, and all you're doing is ordering Sydney Sweeney soap, that's it. And I mean, you could become a burden to the whole fake institution, the whole work environment. Like, hey, this guy, all he's doing is ordering soap. He's super creepy. He's killing the vibe here at the the fake office. I bet you they'll let you go.
Yeah. It's like, hey, we don't need you here anymore.
And it's a great place to order your soap so your wife doesn't see that you're ordering, hundreds of bars.
Do you have a P.O. box here where I can get some shipments?
Yeah, actually, that's the best idea.
I have 100 bars of soap coming in.
I cannot let my wife see these bars.
Yeah. It's weird, but it's in the best possible way. Trust me.
I might order a bar just to test Liz. Like have it come and then sit on the counter, see what she says.
If she notices. My wife would be so angry.
Yeah, I think that Liz would be upset too.
She would be furious.
Maybe she wouldn't care. I don't even think I'd be able to get a hold of the bar. Not being a super Sweeney fan, I feel like these are just
it's probably all sold out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Danny, how about this story? And this involves a bobcat in a person's home in Denver, Colorado. Have you ever seen a bobcat out in the wild?
Bobcats, so cool. I've only ever seen 2, and I've spent thousands of hours out there. They're very elusive. Bobcats are just, they're awesome.
Yes. Okay. I didn't know you were a fan of bobcats.
Big fan.
Are they dangerous?
No, I mean, no animal. A lot of these animals aren't really that dangerous unless it's like mountain lions typically aren't dangerous unless they're starving, sick, maybe angry. But yeah, bobcat's not a problem.
Okay. Well, is it a problem if one is in your home, Danny?
Yes, that is a problem. And I think they stink up things pretty bad.
Oh, what do they have? Like a musk?
Pee everywhere in musk.
Oh.
I knew someone who owned an ocelot, and it supposedly really did a number on the house. And it was domesticated with air quotes. Not sure how domesticated an ocelot can be, but.
Okay, so what do you do if you get a bobcat in your home? That's what local authorities need to figure out. And their idea was get a laser pointer because all cats are the same. Let me see if I can play a video of this and see if we can get any of this sweet
He's right there.
laser pointer
He's up
footage.
on that shelf behind the plant. Oh. Right? I know.
Yo, guys, look at this thing. Hi, Kiki. Well, I'm going to see if he chases the laser.
Oh, yeah, you can see it.
I don't know, cats like lasers.
Left of the TV.
Okay.
It's not a normal cat.
Damn, cats are all the same. They all like the same thing.
You guys are hilarious.
Hey, look, Kiki.
Okay, but what's his plan?
Yeah, it seems like it
What?
wasn't working. Like,
Yeah.
not very reassuring when the guy comes in and tells you all cats are the same. Let me get this laser pointer.
Yeah. Well, I've been very close to mountain lions. They don't strike me as very
Mhm.
same to house cats.
Yeah. All right. Well, turns out that the laser pointer did not actually work.
Oh, dude, this is a misleading headline then, right? It kind of
I
leads you.
mean, they said that they tried to use laser pointers and said cats are all the same, but it turns out they are not.
The best way to get rid of that cat is to bring in a dog.
Well, what happened was they just left the back door open and it just left.
Oh, that was very nice of the cat
Mhm.
to do.
Yes. The bobcat was not dazzled by the laser pointer.
They need one of those, what is it? Darmine doggy doors.
Mhm.
That don't let in wild animals.
Yeah.
I mean, is that how it got in, or are they just leaving doors open?
Yeah, I don't think the story says how it got into the house.
I think a door was left open. Probably have kids in the house. Kids never
Probably.
shut doors.
Probably. And yeah, that I don't know, is if it's true that all cats are the same, like did they leave like any milk out for the bobcat?
I mean, an African lion, I don't think that's the same as
Yeah.
your tabby at home.
You don't think you can get him with a laser pointer?
No, I don't think so at all.
Yeah. We'll have to ask Tyson if you ever brought a laser pointer to the zoo. Is that allowed, Danny? Do you get kicked out of the zoo if you brought a
I
laser
bet you
pointer?
get kicked out. The laser pointer is forbidden everywhere.
Yeah.
Airports, sports events, the zoo.
Well, 'cause
Nobody.
I feel like that people feel like, oh, like a assassin has like a scope on
Yeah.
me. But if you just had it, like if you were at the lion cage and you were holding it out freely, nobody would think that maybe that somebody was like trying to shoot the lion.
I think you get kicked out. I mean, laser pointers are made. They probably make millions of them every day. And yet nobody really wants them, other than for the occasional nerd who uses them to point out like constellations in the night sky. Kids pick them up and instantly point them at your eye. It's just like no one needs a laser pointer.
Oh, does a laser pointer work in the sky?
Well, I only say that because my father-in-law, he had this really strong laser that he would use.
Oh, wow.
To
I feel like maybe if it was like kind of
up.
smoky out, I feel like that maybe it would work.
It kind of, there's always garbage in the air. There's always something
Some
that
kind
the
of
laser
fog
smack into as it goes up.
Yeah, but they're mostly to torture animals, right?
Yeah, and to annoy people who have the laser pointer on them. Animals, people. Again,
yeah, and,
no
and
good
for
reason.
kids to like point at other kids' eyes.
Yeah, immediately right into the cornea. That's exactly where they shine.
The one thing that don't do that. They can't help it. Okay. Now, you probably saw more than a few lasers if you were watching Star Wars, Danny. And I know you're a moderately big sci-fi guy.
I love sci-fi. Absolutely.
Okay.
Not necessarily Star Wars, but definitely sci-fi.
Turns out that we got a story about the CIA secretly operated a Star Wars fan site called StarWarsWeb.net around 2010 as a way for the CIA to have covert communication and exchange messages with other people. What do you think about the CIA operating a Star Wars fan site that they felt like maybe nobody was going to?
This is a honeypot for nerds? Like, who are they trying to entrap?
I don't think it was a honeypot at all. I think it was like, hey, this is like a super nerdy website that nobody will go to, and that they would be able to then have informants entering a password to get to like protected sites where they could communicate with the CIA handlers.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty smart. No one's going to expect another Star Wars fan site unless it begins to attract so much attention. It becomes like a platform, platform.
They were like hiding in plain sight.
Yeah. Then they've got a mess on their hands if all of a sudden you get all these Star Wars fans just loving this new CIA platform. But then they can just mine all the data. I'm sure that it also has value.
Right. It turns out that Iranian authorities uncovered the site and others. So maybe they had other sites like this that were less interesting than StarWarsWeb.net.
So someone high up in the Iranian government, a huge Star Wars fan, like uncovered this, like something's not right. And then had their coders look into it. I mean, how do you uncover one random site, Star Wars site? There's probably millions of them.
Probably millions of them. And so I guess they must have figured out like something on the servers of like that they had links to all these sites. Like, why is the CIA going to these places? It turns out that the CIA was also working on a few other types of websites. They had comedy websites, extreme sports, and Brazilian music fan sites.
Yeah. I mean, that just makes sense. If you're at the CIA and you've got to do something with your time, right? You don't when the manager comes by.
Yeah,
you got to
like
be
you're a
making
big Star
some
Wars
sites.
fan, and it's like, hey, I built this Star Wars fan community to like be. This is a good website for our informants to go to.
Just don't post a sexy Princess Leia image anywhere on the site.
Yeah.
That'll draw
Well, I thought also on the side we could have some Princess Leia bath soap.
yeah, that would have sold a lot in the 70s and 80s.
All right, Danny, do you wear a smartwatch to bed?
Never. I can't. It's like wearing handcuffs
Oh,
to bed, which some might find to be arousing, but it's just uncomfortable when I sleep.
yeah. I do. I wear a smartwatch. I love to get like, okay, I got to look at my sleep time. I like to look at how much deep sleep that I got, how much REM sleep that I
Doesn't
got.
that affect your sleep though? Isn't there this like anxiety over whether or not you're getting good sleep if you're wearing your watch?
So I don't have any anxiety about sleeping, but I do have the anxiety that maybe some people experience of like having the too much data. And
Yeah.
so this is an article that is citing that there are sleep clinics in the Netherlands that have patients reporting sleep issues, particularly attributed to
There it is.
smartwatch use, that they are concerned about their morning graphs and scores. That's the watch that I wear gives me a score of how I slept.
Yeah, that would be stressful.
And I don't even know how to get the score higher.
I don't need a watch to tell me that I'm not getting great sleep. And also I'd be extremely depressed if it's like you only got 30 minutes of sleep. That to me would cause more stress than almost anything else. I don't want to know. It's like same reason you don't take IQ tests. You don't really want to know how dumb you are. So it's like my kid the other day just asked, "Have you ever taken an IQ test?" I said, "No." He's like, "Well, I've been taking them online." I said, "Actually, that's the first test of an IQ test is whether or not you accept the online test." It's just it's one of those things I don't necessarily want to know. I don't want to know how little I'm sleeping because that'll make me probably sleep a lot less. So maybe this thing that they're doing in the Netherlands makes sense.
Well, now I'm getting anxiety because now it's saying that it can't connect to my watch. I can't get the connection.
Yeah. I do measure a lot of my exercise, and my watch will tell me when I start a run, it'll give me a score. And sometimes it'll be like -4 or 1 or +4, trying to indicate like, hey, you're about to have a good run. And that does kind of irritate me when I get those numbers. It also gives me like a VO2 max rating. And whenever I dip below superior, I get really angry. It's not necessarily helpful to get all that data.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Breaking news, Danny. I've got my sleep score is 83 out of 100.
And are you happy with that score?
No, not really. I feel like only 83, and I feel like my deep sleep, I can never get that high.
What is your deep sleep? Does that get an independent
53
score?
minutes. That feels
that
like,
does.
and then they tell you normal, but you have shorter deep sleep than 62% of the users. I'm like, well, what am I doing wrong?
So it can point out all the bad things, or it can point out how badly you're doing, but not give you any access to
I
tools
don't get
to increase
any
it?
like, yeah, well, here's what you need to do, Rob. Like the blah blah blah.
Yeah, that's not helpful.
Mm-hmm.
That's not helpful at all. You could look it up on the internet, but you'll get so many suggestions and hacks that then that just becomes overwhelming. And
That's where the anxiety comes in.
Yeah.
Too much data.
The best thing to do probably is to get rid of all the electronics, right? They always say that.
Mm-hmm.
Go to bed at the same time every night. No caffeine. What else?
Yeah.
Keep the
And does
temperature
it even
cool.
really know anything? Like they're saying that some patients, they trust the smartwatch data, and maybe that they're actually fine, and that they think they have a sleep issue.
And the watch doesn't know. Not everybody needs the same amount of sleep. Really, it comes down to how you feel during the day. I think that's the best indication. And you can save $1,000 by just going off of that alone.
Wow. Yeah.
Rather than a watch.
Yeah, because sometimes also it says that I slept, and I know I was awake staring at the ceiling for an hour.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you slept great. You were only awake in the night for 5 minutes. Like, that's not true.
Yeah. The nighttime is
Don't gaslight me.
Yeah, the nighttime is a weird time warp situation. It is crazy how quickly time can pass in the night. Whereas when you're sitting in that windowless office, time moves so slowly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the windowless office that I go to because I don't have a real job.
Yeah, exactly. Time moves so slowly there, which is a great reason to go.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you go to bed, time moves so fast.
Time moves fast. Not when you are standing there and I guess it's like, oh, I've been awake for 4 hours.
Time moves the slowest at a stoplight. Like, I feel as if time stretches beyond what it should be.
Is that Einstein's theory of relativity, Danny?
Yeah, he's like, time will slow the closer you are to a red light. I think that's science.
Yes.
But when you go to sleep, time will move faster than it does for everyone else.
It's like, I didn't have enough time.
Yeah. Couldn't get to sleep. I went to bed with 10 hours available to sleep. I slept 30 minutes, felt like I had been awake an hour, and then the sun came up.
All right, Danny, we talk often about the worst airline passengers. Let's talk about the worst flight attendant, perhaps, or maybe it was the best. Depends who you ask.
Yeah.
A British Airways flight attendant, 41-year-old male, was dancing naked in a business class lavatory on a flight.
Okay, so they were in the bathroom, naked?
Dancing.
Yeah. Great. After taking cocaine, I remember the story. I think they
that they think it was a wild drug-induced dance, possibly ecstasy or cocaine.
Maybe both.
Could be both.
Yeah,
it's a 10.5-hour flight. So okay.
I would bet that cocaine use, I don't know, without any evidence, I could see why you would want to take cocaine if you were doing long haul flights. Because
you got to be on your feet the whole time.
Yeah, and they're really nice. These people who assist others on planes, on long flights, I don't know how they do it, because they have energy, they have patience, they really do a great job. And so this guy, I mean, he's dancing in the privacy of the lavatory.
Yeah.
Which, how did they find out?
They make it seem like that they're actually like friends. Like, it feels like that when I get on a flight, I feel like that the other flight attendants, it feels like that this is like a tight-knit group.
Yeah.
Do you get that?
Yeah, because they're battle veterans.
Yeah.
They've seen it all.
They might have never just met each other today.
I don't know. They seem to know each other, and they talk to each
They
other.
seem to know each other.
The whole time. They don't even appear to be sick of each other.
There's a lot of chemistry in the group. They're never like, oh, that this one, I've had it with her.
Right. Although we're positive that takes place. But they seem
fake it.
Like a special class of individuals. And honestly, I don't even know why they take up this job. And a guy taking cocaine to get through his, stewardess, flight job, whatever. That to me, probably requires some of that.
But they actually treated him very kindly. Maybe he was a friend, and maybe that they did more of like an intervention. They dressed him in first class pajamas. I got to be honest, Danny. I'm getting on a plane. I'm going on a long flight. I'm in first class. Like, I'm probably not going to put on the first class pajamas.
Do you put on hotel pajamas?
Never. I've never been. Well, my wife will wear the robe in a hotel. I don't know if I've ever done. Maybe as a joke. I don't think I've ever donned the hotel robe.
Now you go down a step lower in the sanitary setting to an airplane. You're putting on first class pajamas. I don't even care if they come shrink wrapped. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go into the bathroom and then take off all of my clothes and then put on a different. What am I, the flight attendant on cocaine?
Yeah, the bathroom. I just read something about a stewardess talking about the bathroom floor and how disgusting it is and how you can get ringworm from the airplane. And it's like, the last thing you want to do is lay any clothing on the floor of an airplane bathroom. So to put on those silk pajamas, they need a silk pajama changing station in first class.
Yeah. Okay. So they took him off the plane. He did get arrested after the medical treatment, but an inquiry is still underway.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. This might, maybe transfer him to not international, domestic flights only.
Maybe shorter flights.
Yeah, that's what he needs.
Maybe it was overnight. Who knows? But a fun guy, I'm sure. Nonetheless.
All right.
Okay. And then I got one more story before Danny's bolt hole. And this is the case of, and her last name is Case, Stephanie Case. She's a 42-year-old Canadian woman who is an ultra marathoner who recently stopped 3 times on her ultra marathon of 16 hours and 53 minutes to breastfeed a baby.
I saw this video a couple of years ago of a woman who ran a marathon while pregnant, and she ran it faster than I can run a marathon, which I can't run very fast. It is amazing. This though is like next level. When I first saw this, I was like, how is she running with the baby, with her boobs out and just everything just flopping around? She sat
Free the
down
nipple.
and she breastfed the baby and then went for a run. I mean, that's amazing. But people do sometimes stop. They have aid stations. You can stop, eat something, sit down.
It would be very dangerous to run with the baby, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Do you know what though? The hardest thing about ultra marathons is sitting down and then getting back up. So what she's doing is actually more difficult than someone who just walks through an aid station. Because when you sit down, your body's like, and then to think, I got to get up and run 20 more miles. Your body doesn't want to do that. So to do that 3 times.
Can you speak to an ultra marathon? How long is an ultra marathon?
I don't know. I think they have to be anything over a marathon length. I could be wrong about that, but does it say how far hers was?
I'm sure that we can,
because they're all different level. They're all different lengths. There's a 100-kilometer race, so 70 something miles. That's tough. More than 60 miles over rough terrain. I mean, this is amazing. Just the fact that she gets back up and continues running and then eventually wins. That's impressive.
Yeah. Is this a world record for the most times breastfeeding during an ultra marathon?
You think this will become a category on its own? All I know is that I am secreting fluids when I run, but it's mostly just vomit.
Boot juice. Oh.
I'm just a boot juice, and puke. Like I've got all sorts of stuff coming out. She's secreting life-giving milk for babies. Yeah. So congratulations to her.
Yeah, she did not only have to worry about her own nutrition, she needed to get nutrition to be able to produce the milk. They say that she consumed 80 to 100 grams of carbohydrates per hour during the race. That's nothing.
No, she did get quite nauseous, which is always what happens to me.
No, actually, I think that's a lot, right? 80 to 100 grams of carbs.
That does seem like a lot. When I'm able to take
an hour?
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't do that. That'd be awesome.
So, that is a lot. But I guess she made it work. She knows what she's doing.
By the way, the more important part of this course, and this is something that's often overlooked in ultra running, is not only did she run 60, 70 miles, it had 21,000 feet of uphill. And so sometimes when I tell people, I ran 20 miles, I want them to understand that because it's important that they know I'm better than them. But it's wasn't just 20 miles of flat, it was 20 miles with 7,000 or 10,000 feet of uphill. And she did this 21,000 feet of uphill in a very short distance. So she did it all.
All right. Well, Danny, let's then take things to a ultra marathon of its own. Danny's bolt hole. Okay.
Let's
do it. Here it is.
Welcome to my bolt hole. I think you're gonna like it. I think you're gonna feel you belong.
Yeah.
I had so many stories. I had, that cheese race in England where they run down the hill chasing the wheel of cheese. I had that. And the best part is the woman, talk about women doing things. She won the uphill race back up the hill only because she left her phone up there and she decided I might as well do the race if I'm going to go back up and get my phone. And she ended up winning going back uphill. But the story I wanted to talk about, this just struck me. I don't know if it's true. sometimes people put up stories like, and they try to legitimize the story by saying mathematician discovers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, well, if he's a mathematician, I'm not going to question it. But a mathematician went out and he discovered how big, if you took all of the meat in humans and made a giant meatball.
Okay.
He determined, probably because he's working at one of those offices in China, right? He's got all the time in the world to use his math skills to really sort out what's important. So he decided how much the entire human race could make in terms of a meatball. And how big do you think that would be, Rob?
All of the meat in a person in a meatball, and are there breadcrumbs also, or is it just like just the
That's a good point, because breadcrumbs are necessary to keep it together.
Am I answering in weight or sort of like a
size?
Size. Like what the width would be?
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Let's do width.
And is this like, what is this, like a person, say like 150 pounds?
Yeah, I'm sure he had to use some kind of average.
So I don't know how much like the skeleton weighs and how much like
well, it's just the meat, which I don't know how you calculate human meat total, but he's obviously a mathematician. Don't question it.
Yeah, I feel like it would be maybe like maybe like a beach ball.
No. Every human in the world.
Oh, every human in the world. Oh,
yes.
I don't know. I guess then I'll say it was maybe. I have no concept.
Right? How
of
would you
anything.
even? I've never even considered that. But if you were to ask me, like almost 8 billion people,
I don't know. I would say like what's that big thing at like Epcot Center?
Oh yeah. That's a good. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Although I would imagine it being larger, and most people did. It's a half mile across, and also they said, to put it into perspective, this article 2.5 times as tall as the New York Empire State Building. Around 3 times the size of the Eiffel Tower. And so they have this really disgusting picture of the meatball in Central Park to give you a perspective.
I don't need to see that.
You don't. It actually is incredibly disturbing. So if there is some kind of alien species that's out there looking for just a giant, they just go and they harvest all the meat and turn it into a giant meatball. If that's one possibility for the end of humanity, we now have an actual picture of what the human meatball will look like. And it's a lot of meat.
That is a lot of meat.
You really live a long time on that much meat, but not as much as some people had supposed.
Okay.
So if you've ever wondered,
I never thought about that ever. A big
yeah,
person.
that's
meatball.
because you don't sit in a Chinese fake office.
Yeah, if I had that kind of time on my hands, maybe I would think about that.
You need the time on your hands and apparently the math degree, because I'm sure in math, they always talk about things like total meat per pound on a human. It's so weird that that's what they throw out to legitimize this article. Is like, this guy is a math expert, basically. He has a mathematician. You put mathematician before anything, and whatever follows has to be true.
Has to be true. Even though it was probably like 700 people pretending to be AI in some factory somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, if you put mathematician, scientist, rocket scientist, physicist, you put that in front of the whatever information follows, it like automatically gives it this nice clean sheen. Like, oh, this has got to be true.
Yeah. So, okay, and if you made a meatball out of every person's meat in the entire world, and nobody's there to see it, did it exist, Danny?
No, it doesn't exist.
I've
been listening to this book on sound and music and why we like music. And he says, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? And he says, absolutely not. So,
wow.
I guess the meatball doesn't exist either.
Do you believe that?
I mean, I guess I had to. This guy, he studied. He's got the degree, right? So how can I doubt him? His degree trumps mine.
I feel like it hits the ground. Like that reverberation, I think, is going to be felt.
So he's saying the waves are out there, right? The sound waves are out there, but there's nothing to interpret it and make it sound. We only hear sound because
he's getting very technical.
He's getting very technical. So in his opinion, it doesn't exist.
Sound is when, the things hit your eardrums.
Exactly. That's exactly what he's saying.
Okay.
So the meatball is only the meatball because the light waves hit your eye and your brain turns it into a human meatball.
Okay. Danny, we should talk about what our image is going to be. Now, I don't know if we can top last week's image for the podcast.
Obviously, someone who looks like Sydney Sweeney
Is doing what?
is, I don't want to be taking a bath.
Might be.
I don't want to creep.
ChatGPT might not like that.
Yeah. Is selling soap bars.
Okay.
Surrounded by honeybees.
Yeah. Could be some honey in the soap also.
Right. With hundreds of computer engineers in the background typing away.
I think that it might be hard to get the that could she be in some kind of like an office of
oh yeah, exactly. Oh, in a very sterile,
mhm.
dimly lit office. Yes, that's great.
In a sterile, dimly lit office where people pretend to work.
I think ChatGPT is good. That's all about.
And maybe like outside of the window,
a giant
meatball
yes,
can be seen.
I guess we should, instead of sterile, we could just say empty, dark, empty office.
Yeah. I think sterile. Let's see. Okay, let's try this.
All right.
Let's see what happens.
Machine.
Or Danny, what's coming up for you?
I'm trying. I've got new videos coming out every week. I was told by this person that I'm working with, I need to be putting out videos every week.
Every week. Okay,
every
that makes
week.
Sense.
It does make sense. I already
Can you do
knew
like
that.
2-parters, Danny? I know it takes a long time to like make up a video. Is that unsatisfying for the audience?
So it is difficult and it is unsatisfying. So what he suggested was one legit episode of an adventure, right? Every other week. And then in between those weeks, he's just suggesting right now, shorter videos about gear or frequently asked questions or something like that in between the longer episodes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Could you do like a big adventure video and then the next week is like you're answering like the comments about the like questions from the chat that were about that adventure?
Yeah, and you know what? It's really helpful to have this person because I was thinking about it. When you have kids and you ask them to do work, they never do
forget it.
Right? But when someone else outside of the household asks them to do work, at least my kids are 10 times better workers. So it's always nice.
Wait, this person has now got your kids working on this?
No, what I mean is when you have someone, not your wife, telling you what you should do, because when your wife is like saying, you should do this, you know, in your heart, like, yes, I should, but it's just coming, the source is not quite what you want. So when you have someone else not associated with you or your family telling you to do work, you're like, yeah, okay. I don't know. You feel a little bit more responsible to them and less annoyed by their advice when it's not a family member. When I was saying with my kids is when I tell them to do stuff, they do a really bad job. But when like their grandmother tells them to do something, it's so much better. Or when a neighbor asks them to do some work or has them do work, it's always so much better. And it's true as adults. I feel like my wife telling me to do something not as effective as this guy. So he's telling me to put out videos. I'm definitely more likely to do it.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I'm working on.
All right, Danny. So you asked for it.
Yeah.
The team of 700 engineers over in India has provided the response. Sydney Sweeney selling soap, surrounded by honeybees in the dimly lit office while a giant meatball looms in the background. What do you think?
Okay, that is pretty much Sydney
I think that's
Sweeney.
Diddy behind her. I think that I've used the same thread. I'm pretty sure that Diddy is looming in the background. That
leering individual is, just fuzzy enough that you could really put Diddy's face on.
I think that's Diddy from the last image.
Yeah. This really captured her pretty well. Like if I just blur my eyes.
And you know what? If anybody was going to be buying like the soap made from bathwater of somebody else, I know exactly who would be buying the soap.
Yeah, he's trying to snatch.
Is there any oil in the soap?
he's getting ready to buy a mass quantity. Yeah, that's man, it has gotten so good. Yeah, or bad, depending on how you view it.
They really nailed it. What is Diddy doing? It looks like he's got like a Happy Meal.
He's holding a red bag. Maybe he's taking out his lunch.
So yeah. Okay.
Wow.
And if anybody was also going to work on making the giant human meatball, I also think that maybe he's on my list of suspects.
Oh yeah, he loved giant human gatherings. So actually, the next step is meatballs.
Yeah.
I bet
All
he
right.
incorporated meatballs. How about you, Rob?
Yeah. Doc says he thinks he's still opening Kid Cudi's presents. Is that still what's going on from the last one? I used the same thread as the last one, so I think it's referencing the old memories.
He'll open anyone's presents.
Yeah. This is like Black Mirror, where now we've created this universe where the other stuff is still like this is the universe where like Diddy is still opening Kid Cudi's presents.
On some
interesting
quantum
Easter
level,
eggs, even.
You've done it.
Incredible. Okay. All right, the News AF cinematic universe. And for me, I'll be podcasting away. You want coverage of Survivor 50? We got it. Okay. We are talking all things Survivor and so much more over here on RHAP. So until next time, Danny and I will be back with you for some more News AF. And guess what? We did it, guys. Hail Klarna. Bye. This is RHAP. We know reality TV.